lot of money, unfortunately, that the state leaves on the table.
First, I think it's more important that the dollars stay in the state to begin with.
Senate candidates Joe Heck and Catherine Cortez Masto explain how they plan to keep federal dollars flowing to Nevada if they win.
I was very personally very disappointed and hurt.
And congressional candidate Lucy Flores answers our questions about fundraising, Emily's List, and getting past gridlock.
And the filing period for state and local races has closed. We'll look at who's jumping into the political waters.
From 8 News Now, this is Politics Now with Steve Sebelius and Patrick Walker.
A familiar face jumps in the U.S. Senate race for Harry Reid's seat, potentially shaking up the Republican field. Welcome to Politics Now. I'm Patrick Walker.
And I'm Steve Sebelius. Thanks for joining us. The filing period for state and local elections is now closed, and the final day ended with one big surprise. Former Assemblywoman Sharron Angle filed to run for Senate in the Republican primary against Joe Heck. Angle, who lost a bid to unseat Reid 6 years ago, questioned Heck's conservative credentials on a Las Vegas radio talk show recently. Also, former Assemblyman Morse Arbery decided he would make a bid for the CD4 seat. Arbery still owes the state more than $100,000 in a restitution in a campaign finance case. And brothel owner Dennis Hoff, having teased a run for state senate, ultimately decided to file in Assembly District 36 in northern Nevada as a libertarian.
Well, before Sharron Angle jumped into the race, I had a chance to catch up with two other candidates who were vying for Harry Reid's open seat. Former State Attorney General Catherine Cortez Masto, of course, a Democrat, and Republican Congressman Joe Heck, both filing this week.
A few strokes of a pen making the Senate race between Republican Congressman Joe Heck and former Nevada Attorney General Catherine Cortez Masto official.
The stakes are extremely large.
This is my state. I was born and raised here.
Nevada's race has national implications. If Heck wins, Republicans gain a seat and a chance to keep the majority in the Senate. Both candidates push for safety as a top platform priority. Heck touts his military experience, and Cortez Masto touts her 2 terms as Nevada's Attorney General. The two differ on jobs and the economy. Heck has voted against raising the federal minimum wage, and Cortez Masto supports a $12 an hour wage. And on health care reform, Heck has voted to repeal the Affordable Care Act, while Cortez Masto supports smaller changes.
And you can't have an insurance company or a federal bureaucracy coming between patients, their physicians, and the care that they seek.
And I think we need to address the Cadillac tax issue. I don't think it's fair to those individuals who gave up the right for a salary for benefits.
Both candidates recognize outgoing Senator Harry Reid's pull in getting federal funds for Nevada over the years. However, the two differ in how they want to see that money become available for projects in the state.
There's a lot of money, unfortunately, that the state leaves on the table when it comes to federal dollars. For me, we should be going after that money.
First, I think it's more important that the dollars stay in the state to begin with and not go to Washington to have a cut taken from Washington and then come back to the state.
Heck and Cortez Masto agree that this race boils down to experience. Both claim to have the best experience for voters, but ultimately, it'll be the voters who make that decision.
Well, I think we've both been a little bit guilty of looking ahead to the general election because that's the matchup we've believed. But now we have a primary race with Sharron Angle back in.
Yeah, it's amazing. And I think it has a lot of potential to hurt Catherine Cortez Masto in the general election with respect to the fact that Sharron Angle is going to be so conservative next to Joe Heck. She's going to make him look moderate. Mm-hmm. And the Catherine Cortez Masto in the general was counting on the argument that Joe Heck's too conservative. Well, Sharron Angle is going to help blunt that.
So now it's going to be a little bit of change of strategy, potentially.
There may have to be another change of strategy because, trust me, Sharron Angle is going to run as a conservative, accusing Joe Heck of not being nearly conservative enough.
Well, speaking of strategy, the president has named a Supreme Court pick, Merrick Garland. Now the battle over whether Garland will get a Senate hearing begins.
Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell actually said it would be a waste of time to even meet with the nominee, an unprecedented approach to a judicial candidate. While polls show most Americans disagree with that position, Republican leaders say they'll hold firm. Nevada Republican Senator Dean Heller told the Review-Journal this week that he agrees with McConnell. And while Joe Heck was non-committal initially, he issued a statement this week saying, because the Senate is clearly divided, lawmakers should move on to other issues. Cortez Masto, for her part, says Garland should receive hearings and a confirmation vote.
You know, just looking back at that, it seems like a lot of the state's Republican leadership is starting to fall in line that way.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, only Congressman Mark Amodei has said, broken with his party and said that they should have hearings, and got a little criticism for doing it, in fact.
And he has a legal background, correct?
Yeah, he is a lawyer, and so I think he understands a little bit some of the dimensions of this that maybe the other lawmakers don't.
Well, a crowded field of Democrats are lining up to challenge incumbent Republican Crescent Hardy in Congressional District 4.
We plan to have all of them on the show. We start with one of the Democrats who may be an underdog in the race. That's Lucy Flores.
So let's start with fundraising. Obviously, mother's milk of politics, probably the worst part of the job. You've been having some trouble with that, based on the numbers that have been filed with the FEC. Other candidates have outraised you. Emily's List, which endorsed you in 2014 for your run for lieutenant governor, did not endorse you this time. Primarily about money. It wasn't about philosophy, it was about money.
That's right.
How big of a deal is that going to be to overcome?
Well, first of all, I wouldn't characterize it as trouble. I think that the biggest takeaway from the decision to not endorse me simply because of something like money is indicative of a much larger problem in our political system. And frankly, if you're going to endorse someone simply because they have the capacity to give themselves hundreds of thousands of dollars, which my opponent has, and has that capacity, has done so, I do not have that capacity to kind of reward someone because they're independently wealthy in our political system is frankly just a huge indication of why people want change, why people want someone who is different, who is just like them. We have an overrepresentation of millionaires in our Congress. 53%, in fact, of our Congress is made up of multimillionaires. The last time I checked my neighborhood, I was not surrounded by 53% of my neighbors who were multimillionaires.
Couldn't find a multimillionaire. That's gotta hurt, though. I mean, here's a group that said in 2014, just 2 years ago, Lucy Flores is philosophically aligned with us. We think she'd make an excellent lieutenant governor for the state of Nevada. And now 2 years later, for reasons wholly unrelated to your philosophy, your life experience, and all the reasons that they made the decision in 2014, now to say, no, we're going to go with someone else, we're going to go with Susie Lee.
I absolutely agree. I was personally very disappointed in her. I don't think you can name a person, at least on the west coast of this country, who has been a bigger champion for choice, for women's health, for women's economic empowerment, and to then come back to me and say, well, we don't think you have enough money. Yes, it's indicative of what is wrong with our political system, and it's indicative of what happens despite you being a champion, despite you having the best record on their issues, still running the risk of not getting the support of an institutional organization like Emily's List.
You have staked out a position as a progressive Democrat. We could probably go down the list. You support restoring Glass-Steagall.
Absolutely.
Okay. Support raising the minimum wage?
Absolutely.
How much do you think?
$15.
$15. You support equal pay for women?
Absolutely.
Gay and lesbian transgender job protection?
Absolutely.
Gun background checks?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And I have worked on all of those issues in the legislature, both in the community and in the legislature.
Legalizing recreational marijuana?
Yes.
Abolishing the death penalty?
Yes, absolutely.
And so with all those positions, one of your opponents, John O'Seguera, who's dropped out of the race now, he was counting on rural Democrats being more conservative and kind of carrying him to victory. That was his pathway to victory. The the 4 Democrats that are left in the race are all urban Democrats whose philosophical positions probably don't differ too much from your own. How are you going to break out of that pack?
I had the very great privilege, as some people will remember, of running for lieutenant governor last year. And even prior to that, when I was in the Assembly and spent 4 months every 2 years in Carson City, I spent a lot of time getting to know our rural neighbors in Minden, in Douglas, of course there in Carson City, south of us and east of us in Fallon. And while those areas aren't in Congressional District 4, I went further than that when I was running for lieutenant governor, and really just got to establish a lot of amazing relationships with Democrats and people in general, Republicans too, all over.
Well, it's an interesting dichotomy when you look at the numbers. Lucy Flores does have a fundraising disadvantage, but that name recognition is out there.
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, polls taken by her campaign and at least one other campaign show that far and away, she is the most recognized name in that race, which is very advantageous. Now, she doesn't have a lot of money. She has the least amount of money. And so candidates like Susie Lee are going to be able to kind of buy their name recognition with ads that I think we're going to start seeing air almost immediately now.
Oh, here we go. It's ramping right back up again. All right, well, still to come, an uphill battle.
I do believe that you can still get some wins in the win column.
As our interview with Lucy Flores continues, we ask her how she would hope to overcome congressional gridlock.
I've been using Silver State Plumbing for all my plumbing emergencies. So when my water heater broke, I knew just who to call. I wanted a company that was fast, responsive, and had great reviews. So of course I called Silver State.
But don't wait until trouble started. Right now you can get a whole house plumbing inspection for just $25.
I couldn't have called a better company than Silver State Plumbing. You'll be glad you called too.
Silver State Plumbing, 433-5008.
All my kids' friends love hanging out here.
What's up, my peeps?
Because I'm a cool mom.
Heather knows why this is the cool house. Yeah, your internet's blazing. We can all be on at the same time. That's not why.
Get access to the fastest in-home Wi-Fi with Cox high-speed internet from just $19.99 a month with hassle-free setup and support.
I know what teenagers like. Jamming out. I start riffing and they're like, I want to be in that scene. Dishing.
Does Mr. Bauer still give a lot of homework?
Mr. Bauer retired.
Why wait? Get access to the fastest in-home Wi-Fi and over 400,000 free hotspots nationwide with Cox high-speed internet from just $19.99 a month.
Mrs. Curtis is nice, but the Wi-Fi is great.
Hey, sorry, I didn't know you were filming. What? Twinsies. Stop copying me.
Call today for access to the fastest in-home Wi-Fi with Cox high-speed internet starting from just $19.99 a month with hassle-free setup and support.
The Race Now on Politics Now is sponsored by NV Energy. We are putting all of our energy into your energy.
Tire Works is your one-stop shop for a full range of services, including Tire Works Alignment Special, just $49.95 for most vehicles. And when you buy 4 tires, you'll get 4 free oil changes.
Welcome back to Politics Now.
One of the biggest hurdles for a new member of Congress will be getting past partisan gridlock. I asked congressional candidate Lucy Flores how she hopes to accomplish that as our interview continues.
Your reward for having slogged through all the fundraising, all the work and effort that it takes to get elected to office, and there's a lot of it, is the fact that you will be a freshman member of a minority party run by Paul Ryan in the House, where no bill that you introduce may have any chance of ever seeing the light of day, and bills that you would want to vote on are bottled up and you won't be able to vote on them. That's got to be a definition of hell for somebody who was in the legislative majority and enjoyed the perks that come with being in the majority. Why would anybody want that kind of a job?
Well, first of all, I think that it is possible to get bills done. In this environment, it will be difficult to get a lot of bills done. But I think one great example is actually Stephen Horsford, who used to represent the district. He worked with Mark Amaday, and they were able to get a bill, a land use bill, passed, done, implemented for Yerington. to the benefit of Yerington in Congressional District 4. So where there's a will, there's a way, and I do believe that you can still get some wins in the win column. That being said, yes, it is an unfortunate environment that extremist Republicans have created in Congress, an environment of obstructionism. They don't care who it comes from. If it's any kind of Democrat at all that represents an idea, they're not going to move it forward. That's not going to change, at least in the near future. But what I think is important for people to focus on is that we have to take steps moving forward to get good people elected to Congress. For me, that's really what I hold on to, is that I'm hoping to join not just people from Nevada, but my colleagues from across the country who were like-minded like me, good, solid progressives who are willing to put themselves out there for these important issues that matter to everyday people like me and you.
Well, since Flores has endorsed Bernie Sanders, I asked her if she embraces his self-applied label of Democratic Socialist. Flores said she prefers to call herself a progressive.
Well, you can watch that and Lucy Flores talking about how her difficult teen years may come up in the race on our website, LasVegasNow.com. Just look for the politics section.
Well, coming next, to hold a Supreme Court confirmation hearing or not.
Very disappointed in Mark Amadei for saying, well, they should at least give a hearing and all that stuff. The guy, you wussed out entirely.
I think Mitch McConnell's just continuing to embarrass himself.
Our face-off panel takes on the president's nomination and whether the Senate should hold a vote.
Plus, we catch you up on the presidential delegate count and why Donald Trump pulled out of the next Republican debate. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
The world is getting more dangerous. Your home may not be as safe as you think. Trust Rolladen Rolling Shutters to protect your home, your business, and especially your family. Your windows alone can't stop burglars. You need the protection only Rolladen Rolling Shutters can provide. With durable construction and insulation, you'll be safe and secure while saving up to 60% off your energy bills. Rolladen introduces Fire Sense. It automatically opens your shutters in case of fire. Call Rolladen Rolling Shutters for details. 702-878-1072 for your peace of mind.
Thank you, that's perfect. Not only does Silver State have great reviews and fast service, but no matter when you call, you always get to talk to someone directly. No leaving a message and hoping someone will call you back. Silver State is always ready to set up your repair or service call for your air conditioning or heating unit.
Summer's coming. Call now to take advantage of Silver State's $59 maintenance special.
Don't wait. Call your neighbor. Call Silver State.
Silver State Refrigeration and HVAC, 433-5008.
Bark Madness is here. Snap a photo of your dog in their favorite college team gear and post it on our Facebook page for a chance to win a gift bag from Valle Verde Animal Hospital. Bark Madness, sponsored by Valle Verde Animal Hospital.
Sienna Italian Restaurant and Bar, celebrating over 25 years serving authentic Italian cuisine and drinks to Las Vegas. Call today to book your private event or party in our newly remodeled banquet hall, only at Sienna Italian Restaurant, 702-360-3358.
Monday morning.
Forget Apple Pay. Soon you'll be able to use your smartphone as your ATM card.
But is the high-tech transaction safer than the old school alternative? The experts weigh in.
Plus, we all deal with it, but not handling your stress can have deadly consequences.
If repetitive, if pronounced, can ultimately lead to things like a heart attack or heart failure.
The proven ways to relax and relieve stress.
If thinking about selling your cell phone, we'll show you how to get the most cash coming up Monday morning.
Well, welcome back. It's time for Face Off, where we tackle the big political stories of the week from the left and from the right.
Joining us this week are conservative KXNT radio host Alan Stock and Laura Martin, the Associate Director of the Progressive Leadership Alliance of Nevada. This week, we asked about the president making a Supreme Court nomination.
Well, let's start with the fight over the Supreme Court nominations. Is no longer theoretical now. It's an actual fight. There has been a nomination made by the president to the Senate. The Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell says he will not take up this nomination. Is he right or wrong, Alex?
100% right. I'd be disappointed if he did. He should follow in the realm of the Democrats. Harry Reid, May 19th, 2005. Nowhere in the document does it state that the Senate has a duty to give presidential appointees a vote. And he
the
said,
document meaning the U.S. Constitution.
That is correct. Biden said back in June 25th, 1992, we should absolutely not give anything to the president because it was an election year. The same with Senator Chucky Chucky Schumer back in July of '07 said the same thing. We should not confirm any Bush nominees to the Supreme Court except in extraordinary circumstances.
Well, what if they're all wrong? What if they're all wrong? What if all those people who said we're not going to do it are wrong about the obligation of the Senate to take up the...
Well, I think with those, you got Biden, you got Schumer, you got and Obama himself joined in the filibusters in the Senate against nominees. I just think the Republicans have got to stand firm, take a cue from the Democrats' behavior the last 20 years and words and everything else, and just go for it. Absolutely do not. I would not even have a hearing nor a confirmation. By the way, very disappointed in Mark Amadei for saying, well, they should at least give a hearing and all that stuff. The guy, you wussed out entirely, dude.
Laura, what do you think? Should they take this up? And and what about the comments of Democrats in the past saying that they shouldn't?
Well, you know, I think Mitch McConnell's just continuing to embarrass himself and showing just how ineffective he is as a leader. I think that they should give him a vote. They should do their job and give him a vote. I think, you know, it's a good point to be made that President Obama filibustered a nominee. He voted against nominees. But the point being, he voted against them. They still got their hearing. They still follow the Constitution. And in '92, what Biden did was stood up to making the Supreme Court nominee process a political show where, you know, the justice term was over. It was after June. And then a justice decided to retire to allow an outgoing president to elect one more Supreme Court justice, which we shouldn't be politicizing the Supreme Court, you know, the highest court in the land. We need to fill the vacant seat. We need people to have their day in court and to have access to justice. And we just need to move on from these petty political fights and just approve the justice.
But if there is a situation, any time there is a vacancy on the Supreme Court, whether it was created through a death, as in the current case, an illness, or somebody doing exactly what you're describing, quitting so that the president of their same party could appoint a person of their same party, isn't there an obligation on the part of the Senate to take up whatever nomination the incumbent president makes?
Yeah, the Senate needs to do their job no matter who's in charge. If I decide, you know, not to do my work, not to answer emails, not to do expense reports, I'm not getting paid. You know, I have to do my job if I expect a paycheck at the end of the day, if I expect respect at the end of the day. So the Senate needs to do their job.
Well, Senate needs to do their job, but also I'm going to go back to Harry Reid, May 19, 2005, saying the Constitution says appointments shall be made with the advice and consent of the Senate. That is a very different thing than saying every nominee receives a vote. So he's right on that. And one more thing, you're talking about the political aspect of all this here. One of the things that Chuck Schumer said in his statement to the American Constitution Society, very left-wing legal organization, he cited ideological reasons for the delay. Ideological. He said they must prove by actions, not words, that they are in the mainstream, rather than we have to prove that they are not. These people have played politics for 20 more years, some more years than that. You know what? Republicans, yes, we should play politics and we should pick up the gauntlet. And if you don't like it, then you know what? Then next time around we all sit down and chat, let's change the law or change the Constitution. But as the Constitution stands right now, I stand with Harry Reid and Chucky Schumer and absolutely say we should not even give
for the first time ever.
And we should not give a hearing.
We also talked about whether John Kasich should drop out of the Republican race and the controversy surrounding recent violence and violent language at Donald Trump's rallies.
Well, you can watch both of those discussions on LasVegasNow.com. Just look for the Politics tab. Well, this is the race now where we recap the week. Hillary Clinton continues to hold a lead over Bernie Sanders in the Democratic side of the presidential race. She has almost half of the delegates needed and holds nearly a 300-delegate lead. She also has a commanding superdelegate lead, but they can always change their minds during the convention in July. Now, on the Republican side, Donald Trump has crossed the halfway mark to the presidential nomination. Marco Rubio, of course, dropped out this week, or rather last week, so the race is down to just 3 people. Ted Cruz has lots of ground to make up if he hopes to catch Trump, and John Kasich needs more delegates than are left to hand out. Monday's Republican debate on Fox was canceled. Donald Trump pulled out, saying he has had a previous engagement to, quote, make a major speech in front of a very important group of people. Kasich pulled out as well, and since Ted Cruz can't just debate himself, The debate was canceled. And a packed Congressional District 4 race is now just a little less crowded. Former Assembly Speaker John Oseguera ended his campaign Wednesday, citing a lack of money. Oseguera is not endorsing anyone, but says he will support the Democrat who wins.
Well, Oseguera looked at the race from a personal perspective. He'd put $100,000 of his own money into it. When he considered whether or not he had a path to victory and how much he'd need to get there, he made the call to get out.
Yeah, very interesting. He was doing the numbers, doing the math, and it just didn't add up.
Yeah, absolutely. When you've got so much of your own money online, it's really tough. It's really tough.
Really tough. Well, the race continues. We break down who is next to vote for presidential candidates this week. Stay with us.
We've been working hard to keep energy costs low. How low? We've lowered our rates 3 times in the last year. We also offer programs and services that help you lower your bill. And we won't stop looking for more ways to go even lower. Why?
Because we're Nevadans, and we're customers too. Should I keep going? Hello?
Stop monthly TV payments.
That's right,
with Mr. Antenna. Tired of paying for cable or satellite TV? Mr. Antenna is the answer. You get 45 local digital TV channels with the outdoor antenna. No monthly payments, just a one-time installation fee. Stop the circus of TV payments. Join a growing trend of people moving from pay TV. Get rid of the jumble. Call Mr. Antenna today. 608-1313.
These streets can be tough, and too often they're the end of the road for vulnerable young women. Nevada has a serious crisis, the sex trafficking of teenage girls. As Attorney General, I made it my mission to fight back, increasing prison time for pimps and predators, expanding the sex offender registry, and giving victims the right to sue their captors. I'm Catherine Cortez Masto. I approve this message because I know we can make a difference to save these young lives.
Don't let your plumbing go extinct. Call the experts at Raptor Plumbing. Our clean and courteous plumbers are specially trained and up to date on the newest technologies. We've got your fix. Call or visit RaptorPlumbing.com today.
You get in an accident, you're hurt, you call Ed.
Ed Bernstein?
You can handle it yourself, or you can call Ed Bernstein.
Don't try to do it on your own.
Enough said. Call Ed.
This is What to Watch, where we tell you about the big stories coming up next week. Democrats are holding presidential primaries in Idaho, Utah, and Arizona on Tuesday. Republicans will vote on the same day in American Samoa, Arizona, and Utah. Saturday, the Democrats will also vote in Alaska, Hawaii, and Washington.
And speaking of Utah, Mitt Romney says he will cast his vote for Ted Cruz in the Utah primary. Romney says voting for Cruz is, quote, the only path to blocking a Donald Trump nomination at the Republican National Convention. Steve, real quick, the Romney factor, the Romney effect coming in, is it going to do anything?
Well, I don't think so. He speaks for the establishment. He's part of the establishment, so I don't think that really he's going to influence anyone outside of that group. But I do think he speaks for a lot of people in that group.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens, and if it does become an open convention, who knows?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Well, thanks for watching Politics Now. You can email us at politics@lasvegasnow.com.
And don't forget, we are your local election headquarters for the next year. You can always stay up to date online and watch us every Sunday right here on Channel 8 and on lasvegasnow.com. Thank you so much for joining us. We hope to see you next week. Have a great rest of your day or night whenever you're watching us.